It's funny. It made me think about, like, back in the day. I'm going to date myself, but Michelle can relate. Once upon a time.
Howard.
I just mean that you and I have been on a beat together.
I know, but Lou
when.
called me old right before the show started. We're really on a roll,
I'm way
right?
older than Michelle.
Yes.
Let's be clear.
Clip it.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
This
No,
was
wrong
not supposed
mistake,
to be shots fired at Michelle. I'm way older. Back in the day, Chandler, to your question, we would know how to read that because we in the media, especially when I was a beat writer, we were courtside. So we could actually see and hear quite a bit, and you could read a lot better into those situations. We're all interpreting this based off of, a clip that goes viral, and that's always a little bit dangerous, and so I try not to overreact to these things. But, yeah, I mean, look, you guys have seen a bazillion versions of this over time. This looked like garden variety kind of barking back and forth or coach barking at player. Like, you always have your antenna up when it's the superstar player. And when they're still pretty early in their relationship, right? They've been together for just a little over a year. And, JJ was hired at a time when LeBron was the center of the Lakers universe, not Luka. So I think you could say maybe it bears watching that relationship overall, not necessarily because of that exchange.
Yeah.
Do you think the Lakers build around Luka and Austin Reaves and quite possibly let LeBron walk? Do you think that's the next steps?
I have said this, Lou, many times over the last month or so, couple of months. This is like the most consequential offseason for the Lakers in a long time. Probably, I mean, you could say since they got Anthony Davis in 2019, but probably since they first landed LeBron. This is a hugely consequential summer because they have to figure out whether LeBron is coming back. I think that seems doubtful at this point. They need to start moving forward, building around Luka. And LeBron, depending on what he might demand in salary, assuming he's still playing, ties you up too much. So they're straddling eras right now, and they need to clarify that. So they've got to make a decision on LeBron. They've got to make a decision on how much to pay Austin Reaves to keep him, obviously. But then really important after that, cool, you've got your 1-2 punch. What's around them? Because this supporting cast ain't cutting it.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot of work to do, that front office, if it is that front office, because you also have new ownership, and I think it's fair to at least wonder about what other changes are coming in the next few months with now a new president of the club and Lon Rosen and others that are coming in from the Dodgers side.
Wow, they would have big decisions to make this summer.
I like that.
Whoever gets that job. And you just said you think it's doubtful, most likely, that LeBron ends up in a Lakers jersey. So where does he go? Does he go back to Cleveland? Like, is there a big market for
all signs point to Cleveland?
2-year-old?
Very Hollywood.
He's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's still really good. Quite a bit. Maybe LeBron decides to retire, but if he's still playing, it feels like, the buzz around the league has been that Cleveland feels like where he would land. There's another, potential here for he and Steph have become really close. So the idea of Steph and LeBron playing together in Golden State is attractive. But the bottom line is most of these teams, well, those two teams in particular, and probably anywhere else that LeBron would want to go in terms of being able to contend for titles, they're all going to have cap issues. Is LeBron James ready to take the mid-level exception, the biannual exception, the minimum even? I haven't seen a star of his level still able to contribute at a really high level, do something like that, probably since Karl Malone and Gary Payton went to the Lakers my last year covering them back in 2003. And Payton took the mid-level, which was at 4.5 back then, and Karl Malone took the minimum. Just so that Peyton could take that. But that doesn't happen anymore, and it's hard to see LeBron doing that. But if he was willing to, he can go anywhere he wants.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how this works out. Howard, let me ask you about Steph Curry. You wrote about him last month, and he went as far as to say he feels like the Golden State Warriors, they can still compete for another championship. You feel like there's any fight left in Golden State or what?
Lou, it's really hard, in this moment, right, with Steph having been out for weeks, with Jimmy Butler having been out for weeks, and obviously for the rest of this season. It's hard to, convince yourself. And I'm a terrible sentimentalist, which is a bad thing for a jaded old sports writer to be. But, I look at a team like this, I want to believe that Steph can still win another title or make another run. I want to believe that LeBron, for that matter, can do that, and KD can do that. It's hard to let go of our great basketball legends when they're nearing the end. But those guys are also playing at a really high level, which makes it at least feel plausible. And I still believe that. I think that, depending on what Jimmy Butler, when he comes back, what he looks like next season, what the Warriors do in the offseason, Steph, before the knee started acting up, was still playing at an incredibly high level too. He could have been all NBA first team. And so, there's the possibility, like the vapor of possibility is there, but it gets harder every year, obviously, considering, Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond's ages. Again, big summer for Mike Dunleavy Jr. because they need to patch up that roster around those guys.
Yeah, and there's obviously now there's speculation about how much longer Steph Curry is going to play, which is also sad and obnoxious because I want him to play forever.
Yes.
Do you have any sense of how much longer he plays? I feel like he's the one guy that his game can continue. He's not going to not be able to shoot. It's like, is he the guy that kind of has more longevity than these other guys, or is his clock ticking?
It's interesting, Chandler, because there are some guys who, if they can't be themselves, if they can't be dominant, it's time to go. Or if they can't still contend, it's time to go. Steph and I talked about this for the story I did back in January, and his thing was like, yeah, I could be a role player. I could come off the bench. I could be, you think about guys like Vince Carter, his last several years where he was like part role player, part mentor / seventh assistant coach or whatever. Paul Pierce toward the end, Grant Hill toward the end. There's a lot of different ways you can go out as, an NBA legend in this league. And Steph, when we talked about it, seemed to put everything on the table. Like he wouldn't mind if he's diminished, or whatever, lost a step, 2 steps, if he can't be a starter anymore, if he can't, he basically said, like, I don't want to be a traffic cone out there defensively, but he's always going to be able to shoot. So, there are various ways he could decide to carry out his last 2, 3, 4, however many years he wants. The one thing that was very, very clear, though, is that he wants that to end in Golden State.
Yeah. What's your opinion on Steve Kerr's future? You think this is his last season, or do we carry on?
It's a strange one, Lou, because, when Steph talks about it, he always talks about me, Draymond, and Steve going out together. And Steve will allude to that, too. But their contracts are not aligned right now. Steve's contract's up at the end of this season. And it's just kind of been assumed, and Steve has talked about it this way, that, that they'll take care of that when the time comes. But I think the longer we go here, the more it's safe to wonder whether maybe there's, some other factors at work, whether it's contractual, whether it's philosophical, have they just reached the end of the road between franchise and coach? I don't think that's the case. I hope that's not the case. Again, I am the hopeless sentimentalist. I would love to see those guys go out together, Steve and Steph, and put Draymond in there too. But it's an open question right now.
It's still weird to me Clay's not in that conversation.
He'll be back.
Yes.
I still have my fingers crossed he'll be back.
I'm with Beetle. Yeah.
This will be a storybook ending somehow, some way. By the way, you must have been crying at that vintage broadcast the other night if you're such a sentimentalist. Like, I can't even imagine what Howard Beck was doing during that show.
I cry at everything these days myself.
I love this for you. That's because we're old, buddy. That's what we do. The Thunder. I think most of us coming into the season, probably even now, we're just like, this is a fun-loving young group of guys that like each other. But now we got Bill Simmons out here throwing around the word villain. Now, don't get me wrong. In sports, we love villains. Like, we need them. But are we buying the Thunder as villains?
My boss, Bill, laid out a pretty good case the other day on his pod. We talked about it on our podcast, The Real Ones, the other day, too. Like, it's a little early, is my feeling, for them to be villains. Like, the case is strong and it's building. And look, even with Lou Dort's, quote unquote, dirty play against Jokic last week that everybody condemned, and I think it was rightfully criticized. Dort now told my buddy Joel Lorenzi at The Athletic the other day, I might have messed that one up. So even, like, if you're going to be the villain, if you're going to be Dennis Rodman or anybody, the Bad Boys Pistons, you got to lean into it. You're not apologizing. You're just saying, tough. That's the way the game goes. So I don't think they want to be the villains. And they were the darlings of the league just a year ago, and they've only won 1 championship. Like, to be villains, you either have to be perpetually annoying as hell and getting at everybody and having dirty plays all the time, which is not really today's NBA, or you got to win a bunch of titles. And they've won 1. And if they do become the dynasty that I think a lot of us have pseudo-projected, then people will get sick of them, just like they got sick of the Warriors, and that time will come. But I think it's early.
I think, you know what's smart, Bill? Getting ahead of it.
So, Howard, obviously the Thunder are one of them, but how many then real contenders are there in the NBA right now? We know who's at the top of the standings. We know there's some